All right, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel. I'm Allegra, the marketing medulla, as well as the founder of the Women into Networking WIN. I have the beautiful Miss Sandra here with me. She is a wonderful member of our community. She has always showed up in so many different facets, and I've known Sandra for a couple of years now. I think it's been a little time, and I've seen growth. I've seen a lot of challenges, right? Because we all go through them. And I think being in community allows us to ask for help, get the support, and also be there, for one another, even when we don't think it's necessary. So let's start with, who Sandra is. So let's start there. And I want to talk about her new ventures she has going on, because we highlight these things when they come up. We have to celebrate every win. Sandra, tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you, Allegra. First of all, I want to thank you and the WIN community for interviewing me on this podcast because the WIN community is amazing. I've met so many amazing entrepreneurs that us as entrepreneurs, we need to network with people that are doing the same thing that we're doing, right? So my name is Sandra. I am an online coach specializing in digital products. So I help my clients create digital products. But I think that what sets me apart is because of my background, 30 years of tech and business. When I work with my clients, I work with them in a different capacity because it's not just about building the resources, it's about building your business and implementing the right tools for your business. I say this all the time. Back when I started, the trend was everybody was creating courses, creating courses. So I started to create courses for my clients only to find out that they didn't sell a one. And then I said, wait a minute, these courses are amazing, but the problem was it wasn't the right vehicle for their content and or their audience because not everybody likes to go through courses. So that's me in a nutshell. And again, thank you for having me here.
I love it so much. And listen, y'all get a little peek through of this interview in a way where, as Sarah has been, Sarah, I was just on the phone with Sarah, sorry. Sarah's our programs manager. Sandra has been, working with clients, and we've seen you show up and talk about your business a lot too. Um, Also, you have a new venture that just recently happened that we talked about, and we don't want to do a deep dive yet, but I want people to know, in the audience from around the world, right? Let them know, what is it that you have coming up, and why did you choose to start this new venture?
Well, as you get older, when you do things, sometimes you feel like it's not the right thing, right? So you quickly pivot. It's not like when you're younger that you're at a job for years and years until you realize that this is not what you want to do. So when I started working on this online space, I started as a virtual assistant. I didn't even know what a virtual assistant was, right? I started as a virtual assistant because, again, because of my background, I started helping my clients with their funnels when I didn't even know what a funnel was. Well, the word funnel, right? Um, then I quickly pivoted to course creation, creating digital products, and then I had this thing in me that I feel like if people don't know us, if people don't know our trials and tribulations, everything that we've gone through, they really don't resonate with you, right? So I started talking about writing your personal story, how your personal story can impact your audience, right? And it could be something personal, deep personal, like my book, or something personal that you went through as a business owner. Like one example that I give all the time, like a health and fitness coach. It could be that years back, they were overweight, they didn't have a handle on their health, and you know, they've gone through it. So writing a personal story about how they came out on the other side will not only resonate with your audience, but gives you credibility, gives you that badge. Oh, she knows what she's talking about because she went through it, right? So my book, although it's very impactful because I'm getting so many messages that I'm so shocked, But what I wanted to show was how you can create your story in an ebook. It really wasn't meant to impact the way that it is impacting. So I'm like shocked. So that's what I'm doing now, creating, helping people create their stories for their business.
So, in the form of content, right? Because we know that digital products helps us create content that tracks the audience that we want, people that need to hear the message from us. But if your message isn't clear, like if you don't, you're saying if you don't have a story, then that message will never resonate with people because there's nothing that they can relate to, right? Like who cares if you know what you know if you've never been through anything to really say I can relate to how you feel. um what
Yes.
kind of challenges, I mean, can you break down those challenges that you had with clients when you were like filling in the gap for them?
Well, I'll go back to one client that I'm working with now. She has an amazing course, right? But her problem is, and she has a huge audience. So we're working through the problem is that her messaging is not on point. Her messaging is not giving the people the idea that the course is exactly what they need. Because you could have the greatest product in the world, but if nobody understands the benefit or the why they need it or how their life is going to look like after they've gone through your course, your ebook, your masterclass, whatever it is you're promoting, they're not going to buy it because people don't buy products, they buy results. So you have to lead with the results, with paint a picture. Allegra, this is how your life is going to look like once you've gone through my course or my digital product. So that's the problem that I find with most people who are trying to sell digital products. They don't know how to curate a message that is going to give their audience like that aha moment saying, okay, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So that's what I'm honing
that
in on.
that that's I think that I've seen that in so many situations. Do you feel like in your life that that played a part at any point of time where maybe the story didn't resonate with what you were doing? Did you experience that at all? Because I know I had.
Absolutely. Especially when we first started in our business, that we're not even sure how to tell our story or how to give our message. Because not to, I'm just gonna pat myself on the shoulder here because I have over 30 years of tech and business experience. I used to own a software company and we built software for the fashion industry. But people don't know that when I first started, people go, oh, Sandra, she's just a course creator. And I have people say that to me, oh, I thought you were just a course creator, right? But and that's my fault because I wasn't showing up, showing people the benefits they get working with someone like me. So, yes, to answer your question, yes.
No, that's good. I love what you said at the end, showing people the benefits of working with me. And I know that that has to come from a place deep inside where it's saying, I am worth it. Um,
Yes. It's a lot of mindset involved. A lot.
well, speaking of mindset, because I know that you've worked with a coach, you've worked with a mindset coach, you've
Yes.
worked through a process of healing in your own self, right? And I think that when we were speaking before, you were mentioning that that's really what led you to this change, right? Like I put up the title, How Challenging Was Change, because change is always uncomfortable. And if someone, like we just said, maybe our message doesn't align with what we're doing, um, transitioning over for that time frame, how challenging was that for you? Like, we know the book is here, but how did it feel going through a process of overcoming anything from the emotions to the physical elements around you? Like, what was that like?
Well, as far as my business is concerned, I think that everybody should work with a coach. When we start a business, we think, oh, I have all this experience. I don't need anybody to help me. But that's not true because my coach, which is she's part of the community, Coach Ariana, I started working with her with mindset. Mind you, Ariana is half my age. So I went in there um, with a little doubt, what can someone half my age teach me, all that. And the first 30 days of working with her, it was like, wow, wow. Because the problem with me, or not the problem, the situation with me was that I've always been the person behind the person, the second in command, right? I was the MIS director, the manager of information systems, but I had the CFO. I reported to him, and I was always the one with all the answers, but they always looked toward to him for the answers, and then of course he will come to me. But so it was kind of hard after working 30 years being behind the scenes to now showing up in front of the camera like we're doing now. When I first started, you couldn't pay me to come on video. You couldn't, right? But as you build your confidence, as you build your, well, I want to say confidence in your expertise. What's the worst that could happen? Someone will just swipe away or won't look, right? But you have to keep in mind, you're here to help people. You're here to serve people. And if they don't hear you, you won't help them. The people that are needing you won't know about you if you don't show up. So it was challenging. It took me a little bit to show up. Like even you would say to me, you sound different. You look different. Like you can see the change and the shift, right? So after working with Ariana for a few years now, even Ariana didn't know my background. So I said to her, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book and about what happened to me." And then I told her the story and she says, "Go for it, go for it." And then it was a little difficult because although it happened 30 years ago, sometimes you think you're healed and you're not. And I wrote this in the book. The book was so good because it healed me in ways that I didn't know that I needed healing, right? So it was sort of like that last little piece that I needed to get out of me. So that's the way I see it writing the book. Right?
Man, this is such a great interview because we get to dig deeper with Sandra, and I don't know if you remember Sandra. We started off with your first live, I think, in the Women Behind the Brand series, and I even remember showing up in those ways, and how that these lives have even transitioned even throughout that process. So you're right, like showing up and healing and being confident is so important, and I'm glad that you told the audience that working with someone is healthy, because I think we, especially as women, because I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, is that we do want to be super women. We're used to it. It feels good, right? To say I can do it all, but realistically, we can't. So, what kind
We
of
can, we can, but what that's going to do is going to lead to burnout. Going to
well,
lead to
yeah,
burnout.
like what's I don't want to go burn out, so I don't know about y'all. But I think living a healthy life, and we talk about wealth, it's not just money. But tell us a little bit, because I read the book, y'all. I got a sneak peek. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I got a little bit of a sneak peek. I'm a step ahead. And I got to read the book, and I'm reading it again. And I'm going to read it like probably 3 times before the end of this month, because there's some things in your book, Sandra, that it was a mouth drop. It was definitely a mouth drop from, and I love it because it's a good mouth drop. It's not like oh my God, I can't believe, it's like oh my God, and I want you to talk a little bit about the book, because just so you guys have an understanding, you know, um, like Sandra just said, sometimes you think you're healed until you actually go back, right? And I want you to talk about that, why, what you were feeling when you were writing the book, from chapter one, you started off just really talking about your relationships, right? Talking about your husband. And even that's a mystery. I never see your husband. I never see you show any pictures of your relationships. I never, So that was such a good, introduction as to your history and who you are, like your identity as a woman, as just one whole woman, and that you added these pieces to your life along the way. So I can't wait for you all to read the book. But Sandra, talk about it a little bit. What did it feel like writing this book?
Well, the fact that you said that I started with my husband, um, I think that's like the strategy that I wanted to put into the book, because in order for you to understand what I went through, you needed to know a little bit of background about how I got to where I got, right? So, and I think anybody who's writing their personal story, like some people just want to tell the story, but you have to lay out the foundation. It's kind of like just like writing a course, right? You have to do the foundational work first. So I wanted to prep the audience for my story with how I got there. Because, of course, I was born and raised in New York City, and I am now in South America because I married a Colombian, right? But I go back and forth. Like I'm actually going to be in New York in September. But um, I met my husband in New York. We were working in the same place, and it was kind of, I mean, I don't know if I wrote this in the book. It was kind of like love at first sight. And I do believe that it was love at first sight, right? So I gave a little preface about our relationship, and then about a little bit about my history, who I was before I met him. And then, well, the story is about the passing of my daughter, right? And it's so funny because even now it's like you tend to hesitate when you say it because the room gets quiet, right? The room gets quiet because they're like, right? But the reason I wrote this book is because I want other people to know that they're not the only ones that are going through this process, the process of grieving, right? Um, and the things that happen throughout that time, because sometimes one chapter is about the things people said to me that were mouth dropping, that I couldn't believe they were saying to me. So I want people to know that you're going to hear things that are inappropriate, right? When you're going through grief, but you just take it like with a grain of salt, is it that they say? And understand that it's most of the time is because people don't know how to deal with you now, because now you're different. So people don't know how to react, and they just say whatever comes to mind, right? So in the book I wrote, sometimes it's better just to be there than to think that you have to fill the space with words. So it's the whole process about how and I don't want to say got over grief, because you never get over it. You just learn to live with it. And I wanted, again, tell my story, but also demonstrate how to put your story into an ebook. So that was a little bit about the book. So, and my daughter was 3.5 years old. So it's I should have I should mail it with a box of tissues because
You know, you said mail it with a box of tissues.
yeah, because everyone who has called me crying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I didn't know it was so impactful.
Oh
And the
yeah,
first thing
I
that
was
people say to
when I
me,
read the book, it was very like emotional.
yeah. So and I don't, I say I think it's funny, but it's not, I mean, it's not funny, but even my family members who have never, ever, ever said to me, I love you, they call me up and they go, oh, Sandra, I love you. And I'm like, what? What? Because if you're not used to getting this affection from some people, and now because they know you, and one thing that I want to say here, like even my mom, right? I don't even know why I'm whispering, but even my mom, she goes, I want to read your book because I wanted to get to know you better. And I'm like, wow, right? That was like impactful for me. But I mean, I love the experience of writing this book, and it's only giving me fuel to write other books. But I just need to bask in the glory of this one, and I'm gonna have a book signing in New York when I get to New York. So I'm super excited.
Wow, this is big. Um, the Wi-Fi is a little testy, so if I'm delayed, I apologize. But listen, this is big because when you talk about the challenge of emotionally getting through that process, reliving it while you're writing it, and then reliving it again when people read it, and then just having that, going through the grief, because for some people, it never ends, and that's the truth, right? It's just managing it. And I
Yeah,
love the fact that in the book you did not. She had a lot of strategy in this book, y'all. So I don't want to give it away, because I was like, okay, wait, what next then? Then what next, right? Because you're waiting to hear something. You're waiting to see something. You're waiting to read something, right? Like the suspense in the movie when you're like, okay, like we thought it was the plot twist, but thought it was the end, but it was the plot twist, right? Um, so when you said your mom and your family members and people started to come to you in a different way, right? And I put up, how do people see the new you? I think that's so important because, like you said, when you express what happened and you are able to now talk about it, people can now relate to you. And you said also, how people don't always know what to say. So until, you really can understand and can know how to relate, it's just best sometimes to just be there. And I think that's underrated. I think sometimes we need to just really lean into that. Like, you don't have to say anything. It's more work to try and figure out what to say rather
yeah,
than just being available. And so I love that. And one last thing I want to say before I release it back over, because Sandra, this is your interview, but I was so excited reading your book because it put like puzzle pieces together, because you can know someone and not know someone. Like, you can literally know, like, okay, I know her, but I didn't know that about her. And so so I just love the fact that I was able to hear about your husband, and it did talk about that in the book, about the way that you guys started. And you had a little secret in the book that you didn't even say right here in the interview, about what was going on in your life when you met your husband too, because you had all kind of stuff happening. And I was like, Sandra is out here doing her thing, honey. Like, I loved it.
but
And
I don't want to give
don't,
away all
don't
the
give it away.
secrets. But
Don't give it away.
if I would have met him like a few months later, I would not have been available, right? So if you guys want to know what happened there, you got to read the book. But it's so funny because, sometimes in life, and I think I said this to you before, sometimes we just flow, we go with the flow, and we don't do the things that we want to do, right? Um, and I, went to college, had a boyfriend, got engaged, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you just got to do what you feel in your heart. You got to do what take a chance. Like, who knew? If you would have asked me years ago that I would be in South America, in Colombia, born and raised in the Bronx, in New York City, right? And then the thing is also, when you are doing different things, and I had a problem when I first moved to Colombia, because again, mindset is such a, it's a term that they use so frequently, but it's so relevant. Like, when I moved to Colombia, I was like trying to fit in instead of trying to be myself, right? Now I'm over that, because when I started coming here, um you know, I don't want to talk about the Colombian people, but the women are very into, makeup, high heels, or when I first started coming here. Now it's changed a little bit with the younger crowd, right? But I'm a New York City girl. Right now I have on Levi's and sneakers and my hoop earrings. But I found myself trying to fit in, and I was miserable. And so I said, what am I doing? Right? What am I doing? I'm not being myself. And the moment that I said, like, I don't care if people look at me um, in a different way, because this is who I am, right? In South America, or in Colombia specifically, once you reach a certain age, and I want to say that it's like in the late 30s or 40, you're not, it's hard for you to find a job, because they're really, really based on your youth and your looks, right? One of the first experiences that I had here was helping my husband's niece create her resume, and she goes, "Wait, I have to put a picture on the resume." And I'm like, "You have to put a picture on the resume?" She goes, "Yeah, they won't look at your resume if you don't have a picture." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then it just dawned on me, because if you don't have the look that they're looking for, they're not going to hire you, right? Whereas in New York, I could easily go to New York at my age, and get a job. Here, they look at you like you're crazy if you're gonna go apply for a job here, which is one of the reasons I started my business. I started my business when I got to South
Oh,
America.
wow, this is deep. Okay, we're learning some really good stuff, and this is something that I think a lot of women go through, Sandra, just in general. Like, the whole thing about vanity, and aging is like fine wine, baby. Like, and on top of that, we don't look our age. So, like, if you were to tell, like, if Sandra was to tell y'all her age, y'all be like, yeah, right, whatever.
No, I'm
Um,
not. Listen, I'm gonna be 63 this year. 63, right? But I don't feel 63. I don't. I want to say I feel 40. I mean, you can ask me in the morning when I'm trying to get out of bed and my back is killing me, then I feel 63. But but
no, no,
afterwards,
that's part of life. But I think
yeah.
that happens to everyone, women, men too. And what I do want to say though is, obviously, society and wherever you are will have a lot of expectations, and but I love how you took the challenge when you were there. You reversed your mindset, and I agree. Mindset is more important than anything. Like, your mind is your most vital organ. And then on top of that, you went and you changed all of the things that weren't right into what you wanted it to be, which was your business. And now you have your first book. Um, when is the book coming out? Like, give us like some
Well,
information.
well, I launched the digital version July 22nd. It's available now in digital format, and I'll have the hard copy in September. So you have an option of just reading the digital, but when you're in the checkout, you can ask for the I'm doing signed copies just in case, right? Signed copies. So you can say, "Oh, I knew her when," right? You have to prepare for the future, right? And then I'm so, in the book, I dedicated part of it to my sisters, who are so supportive. And they're actually the ones that are organizing the book signing for me. And I'm super excited. I'm going to have so much content to show you guys about my book and how it's going. And I really want to help other people create their stories as well, because um, a lot of women are telling me, I've been always wanting to write a book. And I think that when you get to a certain age, you have so much wisdom and hindsight that you say, I should write a book. I should write a book, because you don't know how many people can get help from my knowledge. So that's what I want to do. I want to help entrepreneurs write their story, write their books, so that they too can impact their audience.
That's big. Like, my question on the screen, y'all, was how do people see the new you? And I do want Sandra to answer that a little bit more. But while you, because there's a new you, and that can be different. You have to adjust to how other people express their feelings. But I love the fact that we're really going on a journey with you. And you can all get your digital copy of the ebook. You can download it. We'll put the links in the comments, on this live here. But then if you're listening, of course, around the world on the podcast, we want you to go to the podcast description and get the link from there. Um, Sandra, when we talk about your book signing and how your family has come through for you, and I was just having a vision. I'm visionary, so I actually have visions and they happen. It's very weird, right? So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. She's signing, but she's talking to people, and her sisters are like, they got her back. And that's when people realize and start believing in you more because you're doing the action steps, right? And it's so odd that you have a book that is talking about your life rather than your business. I want to dig a little deeper into that before you actually answer this question, because the truth is sometimes I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs as women, we can get stuck in what we're expected to do rather than what you just said, what you feel inside. Now, your first book is about your life, and most people would want to just focus on the business because, hey, it's about the business. But truthfully, what I found is that when people write books about themselves and things that they've been through, like we said, people can relate to them first, then they find out what you do, and that's when they buy. um, did you have any struggle around being having your first book as a personal experience versus the business itself? Did you have any challenges around that, or were you just like, no,
I
this
I
first book
did
is going to
not.
be about my
No.
life?
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't even have the idea of my first book. Like I didn't have an idea of writing more than one book. It was just something that I had in me, and I said, I want to write a book. And then after I wrote the book, I said, okay, now I'm going to use this book to market my skills, right? This is this is a prime example of how I can help you create your story. It wasn't, I don't know. When I started to create a book, I really didn't know how it was going to turn out. But I just knew that I had to tell my story. This is been one of the reasons. When my daughter first passed away, um, I went to a grief group. The ones they have in the basement at the churches. I went once and I sat there. I clearly remember I sat there in a round table with women talking about their loss, and I was like, okay, I don't want to talk, right? I left, I went back a second time, and then what I felt was everybody kept reliving it. And I'm like, I don't want to keep reliving it. I want to get through it. So for me, the grief group did not work. May work for other people, but not for me. So this always is something that I kept in the back of my head. And as you grow older, you experience people that are having grief and all of this. And I say, you know what, I want to write this book because I want people to know that there's no normal way to go through grief. They have the 5 stages of grief. Like you should go through grief there's no time period. You go through grief on your own time. You go through it. And I say this in the book. The week after my daughter passed, when now everybody had gone home and all the things are over, I went to work. People were like, wow, what are you doing here? But what was I supposed to do? Stay home and grieve by myself? No, to me, what worked was getting out in the world and starting. I don't want to say starting my life again, starting my new life, because now I'm a different person. Because once you go through grief or you go through something, you think, oh, okay, I've gone through it, but it changes you. It changes you. It can change you very little, but now you have to start to learn how to live a different life. Even though it seems the same, but you're different.
Man, can we talk? Okay, so I know that we have a little time left because I wanted this interview to be long enough so that people get that in-depth knowledge about you, your book. I've interviewed Sandra a few times, and so I get to have more of a flowy conversation because I know a little bit more than y'all do. But I want you all to tune in and get to know Sandra like I do, because when you were talking about stages of grief, I was like, you are so right. No one can actually tell you how to feel. I mean, I even went through, there are seven, I think there's like 7 stages, but I went through my grief stages, and that's exactly what I experienced, right? Sometimes you can be in a stage for so long that it just takes years and no one can tell you what that's supposed to be or feel like, right? Like maybe I don't want to accept it. Maybe I don't feel like that is where I need to be. And so we have to know what we need. And that's what I'm getting from you. You have to know what you need, and you have to constantly be in tune with yourself in order to do that. Because you could have went along with the group, and you could have stayed, and you could have went down a rabbit hole, whatever. We're talking
Yeah.
about your daughter, and we're now, talking about really this question. I would love to answer this, right? Because everything that we've said is an extension of Sandra. Everything from the book, your relationships, your daughter, and now that you're at this place of talking about all of it and saying, "Y'all, listen, like it's going to heal someone else." I'm sure there's another woman out there that feels this, and she's like, I had the same situation happen to me. Y'all have to read the book to know everything. So please get that now. But how do people see this new you? How do they accept it? Is it difficult? Is it easy? Like, give us the tea.
But you know what the funny part is? That the question to me, when I read that question, I want to change it, right? I want to change it and I want to say, how do you see yourself now? Right? Because sometimes people see you for who you are. And I've had that happen all my life, because the reason I started my own business was because the guy, it was with a partner, he saw that I had potential where I didn't see it. Right. So the better question is, how do I see myself? I see myself as a stronger person now, right? Not just writing the book, but going through this process of working with a coach, working with my business, knowing that now I am responsible for running my business. There is no boss telling you what to do. Now it's you who you are in charge of your life, of your business, of your finances, right? So how do you see yourself now? You have to see yourself as somebody who is capable, somebody who um, if I went through that, I could go through anything, basically.
I'm like, that's powerful. I just switched the question up because you're right. Like, I listen, how do you see the new you? And I love that because now you can really freely talk about things and just not worry about other people's opinions. I think people pleasing is one of the biggest conversation pieces I've had for the last 3 to 4 years. And sometimes in these healing phases, we realize that we are people pleasers, and that's okay that we didn't know. But just being able to take control over your life and saying, I can do whatever I put my mind to. I can be my own boss, or I can work for one. I can go out
Yeah,
there and start
it's your choice.
traveling the
It's
world,
your
or
choice, basically.
like,
It's your choice. And then the thing is that like you said, going back to people pleasing, you lose yourself because you're always doing what you think other people want you to do, and deep down inside you may not be wanting to do that. So you, if you keep on doing that, you're going to lose yourself, right? So the very first thing is, I think, to know what it is that you want in life, what it is that you want to achieve, and then figure out how to do it. Don't start doing something unless you know that it's really, really what you want to do. And I want to say, sometimes when you start something, you think that you know what it is, and then you say, wait, this is not it. It's okay for you to pivot, right? When I first came to South America, I I wasn't working. So I was already like in my 50s. I started doing all this housewife things. I learned how to cook, I learned how to bake, I learned how to sew. I bought a sewing machine and I love it. First, I would bake cakes. And, oh my God, this must be my passion. And then I said, okay, I'm done with that, right? Then this and this. And then the thing is that eventually what you really start with, because when I started in college, it was computer science. That's what it was called. So it went all full circle. And now I'm back to where I was learning. I love to learn. I love how to figure stuff out. I love to create strategy. And I came full circle, and I landed to where I'm really passionate about helping people figure out what they need to do, helping people achieve their goals. Like, I always say my clients' achievements and their success reflect on me, because if I don't help them succeed, then I'm not succeeding with my tasks and with what I want to do. So just be open that just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. It's more important for you to be passionate and to love what you're doing. Because I always tell my nieces and nephew, the worst thing is for you to be an adult and have to wake up in the morning and say, oh, I have to go to work, right? Right? So sometimes when I have like a great project that I love, I just bounce out of bed and I turn on the computer and I start working. But I remember those days getting up at 5:30 and saying, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today, right? But now I love it. So just do what you love. And it may sound simplistic, but it's not. What
There
are
it
your
is. I mean, I think that's one of the best ways to really start toning this conversation down, because it is very simple when you are really in tune. I'm saying, like, I listen, if y'all could see Miss Sandra right now, the aura around her is incredible. Like, for it's amazing, because it's part of, just talking about your generosity, like the way that you're being, sharing here, also just being genuine and authentic, all that matters, to how we relate to people around the world. And I say that to express that sometimes it's not always about what you say, it's also about how people see you, how they feel around you. That matters to you and your business. I always say this one thing, and then I want Sandra to leave some takeaways for us, because you already gave us so much to, like, meat to chew on, right? Because this information is not just stuff you're just saying, oh, let me just take notes and go apply. This is something to think about. Your experiences, the things that you had to go through, grow through is what I say, to make sure that you became the person that had purpose big enough to say, I wake up every day and I love this day. Like, I love waking up and doing this. And essentially, I think that's what everyone's looking for. We're all looking for that every single day. I'm here to do this. So tell us, at the end of this conversation, what do you look forward to now? What is next for Sandra outside of the book? Because we know we're going to see the hard copy soon. But what's in store for you? How do you feel now about the future?
um that's a loaded question, because like I'm not a person that plans far ahead, right? And I guess it's because of my experience too, because you never know what's going to happen. I want to be able to help other people create their stories, and I really mean that, because um part of sharing your story again is self-healing, and also helping those that are looking towards you for your expertise, right? So I really want to help people create their stories, their ebooks, or any digital products, because this is the thing, because of my background. I know how to do a lot of stuff, and when I work with my clients, I look at their business holistically, because it's not only about creating one product, it's about how that product is going to help you in your business. How many different ways can you use that product? People don't think about that, because if you could create an ebook, you can use it in so many different ways, and repurposing your resources instead of constantly trying to create is so key, right? And again, it's based on my experience. When I first started on this online space, I spent so much money on the wrong things, right? So I want to help people not have to go through that, not have to. And I was going to create a reel today about that time that I cried. This is a true story. I cried on Black Friday because I didn't have an ebook, and I was trying to create it. And this was like 5 years ago. I was trying to create it really, really quick, and I started crying. I got frustrated, and then now I look back and I'm like, so what? I didn't have an ebook for Black Friday. I could have had an amazing ebook and launch it for Christmas or for New Year's, right? So I want people to know, especially in this online space, we tend to follow and listen to all these success stories that may or may not be true. So we have to take everything that we see online with a grain of salt. Again, I'm going to say that, and understand that everything that you see may not be true. And I'm not telling you that you can wait to do what you have to do, but there doesn't have to be such a sense of urgency, right? When you're so urgent to create something, this is when you create it the wrong way. So just take a deep breath and know that everything comes in time. Like I had my mother-in-law say to me this. She goes, I see you working now, but what I was here 2 years without doing anything. Why didn't you start working when you first got here? I said, because it wasn't the right time. 2 years later was the right time. So
Wow.
just take,
I love that because, people will question. They will question depending on what they see. But if they're not you, then they won't know why. And the fact that you actually took 2 to 3 years to learn how to be a homemaker, housewife, like, listen, honey, look, I would love to just take a few years out just to see what that's like. Because that's an experience, right? It's like something now you
it
can
is,
relate
and
to
I
other.
loved it. I mean, I could make you an amazing cheesecake, and I used to love to watch my husband eat the food. It gave me joy.
Did you
But I'm
do
like,
you did
hey,
you from scratch? You did everything from scratch, or was you
from
like the cheat?
scratch because I was from scratch because I was in South America, so I didn't have all the ingredients handy. Like I couldn't do a cake from a box. From scratch, I learned how to do all these things. I learned how to sew. I made shirts.
See, you made your own clothes, and I think like, and we talk a lot about these things, and we're gonna have to end soon, y'all. So please make sure I'm gonna drop Sandra's links. Make sure you follow her on her social media channels. I watch her social media because she's always sharing tips and new things that she's doing and discovering behind the scenes with her business, and also how she supports other people with their digital products and now writing their stories and bringing it out there. And the truth is that you cannot have a good digital product without people relating to what it's going to do for them, right? People buy results, not just products. And so thank you, Sandra, for telling us the results that you give to others. Any final words you want to leave before we just dip out of here and give everyone that segue?
Um, you know, I tell my husband sometimes when he is like frustrated or something, you think about what is it solving anything for you to be stressed and frustrated? When you get into a situation, take a deep breath. Like I want to show you, and this is a running joke. I'm going to get up for a second. My sisters are my sounding boards. So when I get stressed and frustrated, I call them up. So one of my sisters would say to me, Sandra, you have to pick and choose your battles. Pick and choose what you're going to argue about, right? So she sends me packages from time to time. So let me just show you what she sent me. Hold up. Oh. She sent me this little Pikachu that I have right at my computer. And she said, pick and
I love
choose what you
Pikachu.
want to argue
Oh,
about, right? So, and I have it right here by my computer because sometimes you get frustrated, and us as women, sometimes we fly off the handle or we argue about nonsense. So I just say Pikachu, 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 and before you know it, that moment is over and you can move on. And you'll be much, much happier if you pick and choose your battles. And I'll end it there.
wow, what a great takeaway. Wow. Thank you, Sandra. As always, we appreciate you for being such a huge supporter for the WIN, just so active in our membership group and making sure that you consistently show up and grow with your business. That's what we're about. Making sure that we empower other women as well. That's our mission. So thank you again. And y'all, listen, this is the Women into Networking podcast series that we're actually airing nationwide as well. So if you're looking at the video part, I just want to say go ahead and listen all the way through because this is not always going to be available to you. We want you to go over to the WIN Community Podcast, listen to this entire episode, share with your friends, and join the WIN community so you can meet amazing, amazing members just like Sandra. All right. Y'all have an amazing day, and we will see you guys
Thank
later.
you, Allegra. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Sandra. Bye, y'all.